The first time Liam heard it, he dismissed it as the plumbing acting up. A low, sibilant murmur from the U-bend of the bathroom sink, like water escaping an airlock. It was late, the house silence save for the hum of the refrigerator. He was brushing his teeth, the minty foam of familiar comfort, when the sound bled through the running water. He stopped, tilted his head. It wasn't the gargle of drainage, it was articulated. A soft, wet hiss. He spat, rinsed, and the sound vanished. Just his imagination, he decided, tired from studying. But it returned. The next evening, as he washed his hands, the whispers returned, clearer this time. They were faint, like secrets breathed into a pillow, but undeniably there. He leaned closer, his reflection staring back, wide-eyed. The water swirled down, a brown vortex, and from its depths, the voices seemed to coalesce. Liam, the whisper slithered, a sound like pebbles rolling in a hollow pipe. We know. His heart hammered against his ribs. Know what? He croaked, his voice rough. The water gurgled. Everything. He slammed the tap shut. Silence. He pressed his ear to the cold porcelain. Nothing. Just the dull thud of his own pulse. He felt a tremor of unease, a cold dread that had nothing to do with the damp air in the bathroom. The whispers became a nightly occurrence. They started coy, teasing him with fragmented phrases, hints of things he'd confided only to himself. The broken bike, they'd murmur, referring to the one he'd ditched in the woods after a stupid dare. That girl. Sarah. His first awkward crush, the one he'd never told anyone about. He tried to ignore them. He'd play music loud enough to drown them out, sing off-key in the shower, anything to disrupt their insidious murmur. But the voices were patient. They would wait, seeping back into the quiet moments, when the house exhaled its nightly breath and his defenses were down. One night, they grew bolder. He was running a bath, the steam fogging the mirror when the voices rose, no longer a whisper but a chorus, layered and chilling. You were scared, they hissed, a breathy tide. You left him there. You didn't help. Liam froze, the shampoo bottle slipping from his grasp to splash on the tiled floor. The memory was a raw wound. The camping trip last summer. Mark, his best friend, stumbling in the dark, a twisted ankle. Liam's panic, his flight back to the campsite, leaving Mark to hobble on his own. He'd never admitted how truly terrified he'd been, how he'd prioritized his own fear over Mark's pain. How do you know? He whispered, trembling. A wet, guttural chuckle answered him. We always know, Liam. We see. He scrambled out of the bathroom, slamming the door shut, his breath ragged. He spent the night in his room, the door locked, listening to the frantic beat of his own heart. But even through the thick wood, he thought he could hear them, faint and mocking, the muffled sound of water lapping against a drain. He stopped going into the bathroom alone. He'd brush his teeth in the kitchen sink, wash his face in the hall basin. His parents noticed. Everything all right, Liam? His mother asked, her brow furrowed. You're acting jumpy. Just stress, he mumbled, avoiding her gaze. But stress didn't account for the gnawing fear, the feeling of being watched, of being known by something ancient and malevolent that resided in the plumbing. The voices began to demand things. Small, unsettling requests at first. Pour the water out, they'd urge. He'd find himself compelled to drain the sink, watching the swirling darkness with a mixture of revulsion and fascination. Let us hear it again, they'd plead, and he'd turn the tap on, just a trickle, and listen to the delighted slurping sound from below. One afternoon, alone in the house, the whispers grew insistent, urgent. He was in his bedroom, trying to focus on homework, when the familiar sound began, louder than ever, vibrating through the floorboards. The key, Liam, they hissed, a demanding, collective voice. The one under the loose tile. Bring it to us. Liam's blood ran cold. The key. The spare house key hidden under a loose tile in the bathroom just in case of emergencies. He'd never told anyone about it, it was his secret contingency. He crept to the bathroom door, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm. He could feel their anticipation, a palpable presence radiating from the drain. He pushed the door open slowly. The sink was empty, dry. But from the drain, a faint, moist sound emanated, like a tongue probing a wet cavity. The whispers intensified, swirling around him, 100 tiny voices all speaking at once. "The key, Liam. Before we come looking." He hesitated, fighting the primal urge to flee. But their unseen pressure was immense, a suffocating weight. He knelt, his hands trembling, and lifted the loose tile. The small brass key lay nestled in the shallow space. He held it for a moment, his knuckles white. Then, with a guttural cry that was half fear, half surrender, he dropped it into the drain. The sound of it hitting the unseen pipes was met with a cacophony of wet, eager clicks, like 100 tiny, eager mouths opening. The water, though none had been run, began to well up in the basin, not from the tap, but from the drain itself. It was murky, tinged with an unnatural darkness. Liam backed away, stumbling, his eyes wide with horror. The murky water rose, a dark tide, and from its depths, the whispers coalesced into a single, chilling sound. "Thank you, Liam." And then, the water began to recede, not down the drain, but up. A thin, dark tendril snaked out of the U-bend, slick and glistening, reaching for him in the suffocating silence of the bathroom.